Friends Atreya, Manav and I Kushal are going to give a brief talk about India's relation with Middle East. Now, I'm going to give an introduction of India's interest in the Middle East. India has had many historical ties with various countries in the Middle East. It all started back when Emperor Ashoka had the first tie with Ptolemy II, an Egyptian king who had settled in Qatar. India has one of the oldest mosques in the world, which was built in Kerala in 629 AD. Now we have Modi, our Prime Minister, and I'm proud to say he is the best Prime Minister, as he has now been the 35th Indian leader, and it's the first time in 34 years that he has visited one of the Middle Eastern countries, United Arab Emirates. There are many discussions whether this has made it a very strong or powerful tie, but it is not yet accepted. But we have got to know that Modi has clearly known the significance of Middle East. According to statistics in 2015, there are around 7.3 million non-residential Indians staying in the Middle Eastern countries. These sum up to $36 billion remittances, which is around 52% of the Indian remittances in total. Now my friends, Manav and Atreya are going to give a brief talk about the political and the trade relations.
Good afternoon everyone, this is Manav and I am going to aware you about the trade relations in the Middle East with India, especially of Saudi Arabia. So let's start with the trade relations. The trade partnership. We all know that Saudi Arabia and Iran are extremely important to New Delhi. Saudi Arabia is also considered to be an important trade partner of India, as it is a large Indian population resides there. Next comes the oil import. Crude oil imported by India is one of the major components of the trade. India is the 5th largest market for the Saudi exports. Next comes the Indian-Saudi Business Forum. Guys, if you remember, there was a meeting between the Prince Crowns of Saudi Arabia with the Indian Prime Minister Pranab Mukherjee with ex-Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh on February 27. In that meeting, number of issues were discussed, such as trade, infrastructure, cooperation and defense. Next, radicalism as a major threat. Saudi Arabia, in contact with India, emerges to be the great trade relation with India. Saudi Arabia emerges as the great partnership with India, as it flags up the radicalism as a major threat. Then, look west. I will be concluding with my words that let's hope the look west efforts to fruitle soon. Thank you. Over to Kushal.
Okay, India, the Middle East, energy. By energy, I refer to, next slide please. By energy, I refer to oil and natural gas. These are two main components which any country needs, and mostly found in the Middle East countries. Modi has rightly said that Indian significant guzzle has both quantities of oil and natural gas. Why? Delhi has buyer's power because the relatively oil costs have gone low. India is trying to get Middle East countries to get strong ties with India. It's just because of oil and the natural gas. It sums up around 58% of oil coming from the Middle East countries to India, and 88%, which is even higher, of liquefied natural gas. And Middle East countries also cannot tell no to them because they also are getting additional resources. Over to Atreya.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. I am Atreya and I will be briefing you about India and Middle Eastern countries' political relationship. India is now being quoted by many different countries of the Middle East, and this is mostly for political reasons. One of the largest rivalries in the Middle East is the Iran and Saudi Arabia relationship. In order to finding ways of reducing influence on one another, Iraq and Saudi Arabia have been trying to find allies. For example, there have been cooperative works between India and Saudi Arabia to fight against corruption as well as terrorism. Hence, many Indian leaders are making trips to countries in the Middle East, be it Bahrain, Oman or Iraq. Modi and other leaders realize that there is a strong reason for India and the Middle East to have bilateral bonds as there are many political and economical reasons for India and the Middle Eastern states to flourish. And the then Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru had introduced a single point policy through which New Delhi gained exposure to various intricacies in the Middle East. And following this, there have been many following the decades of Nehru, there have been the Indian traditional rules of engagement has expanded immensely. Most of this has been positive, as many Indian work, as there is a huge scope of Indian employment population in the Middle East. Most of this have been positive, but there are some instances which are called blunders, which has a contradiction to this policy. Such as India's stance on Saddam Hussein's Iraq in the first Gulf War. When Iraq became the only country to shift its high commission from Iraq to Kuwait. And because of this, the trade between Iraq and India never flourished, and this had very drawbacks between India and Iraq. And hence, but still India has made many tries to increase its relationship with the Middle Eastern states. I would like to conclude by telling that we hope this bond between the Middle Eastern states and India remains to build, and we just hope that this helps in contributing to the economy of both the countries. Shukriya.
Thank you.
Shukran.